So, if you've been watching this channel for a while and you're thinking about coming to the South Carolina Lowcountry to look around, learn more about our real estate, learn more about our region, there are certain steps that you should take. There's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And I've been doing this for a long time and I found the right way to do it, I think anyway. So if you want to learn the most efficient, best way to come here and learn about the neighborhoods and learn about the region, then stay tuned because that's exactly what this video is all about. Do you want to know everything there is to know about the South Carolina Lowcountry, whether it's Bluffton, Beaufort, Hilton Head Island, or Jasper County? Then subscribe below and tap that bell for notifications so you'll be the first to know every time I drop a new video. My name is David Simcox, host of this channel and a local real estate agent. I get calls and emails every day from people just like you looking to make their move here, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're moving in 3 days, 3 months, or heck, even 3 years, just go ahead and go to lowcountrylifestylesteam.com, fill out our little page there, and we'll set up a time to have a Zoom call so we can get to know each other a little bit better. Now, let's jump in and we're gonna talk about the best way to visit the Lowcountry and learn about the real estate and the entire region for that matter. All right, so if you've been watching this channel for a while and you've been thinking about coming in and you wanna look at real estate, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And really, I mean, even if you do it the wrong way, it can still work out just fine. But a lot of times, you know, I have people that reach out to me from watching this channel and they say, hey, we're coming in town in 3 days or whatever, and we've got these 15 homes that we want to see in these 5 different neighborhoods, or, you know, 10 different neighborhoods, and we're thinking about moving in a year or whatever. And I always ask them, like, have you been to this area? Have you explored? And they're like, no, I've never been there. And so I'll let them know, like, okay, this may not necessarily be the best way to do it. There is maybe a better way. So let me just kind of walk you through the process. Like, if you're watching this and you've never spoke to me and you've never been here, or maybe you've been here and visited a little bit. So the first step is to book a Zoom call. And on the Zoom call, I typically spend about an hour talking to you and learning more about you, your life, your situation, things like that. So I'm gonna ask you questions like, okay, you know, if you could wave a magic wand and create the perfect house in the perfect neighborhood, what would that look like? So tell me about the house. Do you want a newer house? Do you want an older house? Do you not care? How many square foot do you need? How many bedrooms, bathrooms? Do you want the primary bedroom on the first floor, or do you want it upstairs? You know, do you care whether the house has hardy plank or vinyl siding? You know, do you want open concept? Are you okay with it being a little bit chopped up floor plan? Like, you know, describe the perfect house to me. And then we talk a little bit more about, okay, the perfect neighborhood, because we've got a lot of different styles of neighborhoods here. Now, granted, most of the neighborhoods here in the South Carolina Lowcountry are these planned unit communities that have various levels of amenities. So, but you are going to be in some kind of neighborhood most likely where you're going to be paying both an HOA, which is like the homeowners association dues, and you're going to be paying a transfer fee. It's a one-time fee that you pay into the neighborhood, and it just kind of goes into the community piggy bank to keep everything nice. And there's various levels of these neighborhood amenities. So on the most basic side, it could be a neighborhood that just has a neighborhood swimming pool. But then as you step up in amenities and price and POA fee or HOA fee, it could have a pool and a tennis court and multiple tennis courts and pickleball courts. It could be a neighborhood that has golf courses, fishing ponds, I mean, maybe a marina or dock, or some of them even have their own private boat ramps. Some of them are gated, some of them are not gated. And, you know, I'll ask people, like, how involved do you want to be? There's certain neighborhoods that have lots of clubs that you can join, from book clubs to travel clubs to photography clubs to bird watching clubs. A lot of these neighborhoods have more community events than others. There's certain neighborhoods that have, you know, all kinds of activities going on all day, every day. And then other neighborhoods are more just a basic neighborhood where you're going to have to go out and find your fun. And, you know, how much do you want to spend on those neighborhood amenity fees? Because some neighborhoods might only cost maybe $750 a year just to get like a swimming pool in the neighborhood. And then other neighborhoods might be, you know, $5,000 a year. And some of them are all the way up to like $30,000 a year for some of the private golf clubs. And if someone is, you know, interested in a golf course community, because we are very golf centric here, we've got all different types of golf communities. We've got public golf course communities where the golf course is not necessarily owned by the community, and so you're not necessarily paying for that in your POA. We have private golf course communities, and within private golf course communities, we've got golf mandatory and golf optional private golf clubs. So some of them you don't have to join the golf club if you're living in there. Some of them you're automatically a member if you join in. So the first part of that conversation is really trying to dial in the type of house and the type of neighborhood that someone like yourself is looking for. And then we'll talk a little bit about, you know, price point. I'll always ask people, like, is there a price point where you'd say, hey, David, don't even bother sending me any houses over this price? And then I like to learn a little bit more about, like, why are you moving and when are you moving? Because that's going to help me determine my strategy for when you come here to visit me. Do I need to find you a house on this trip, or are we planning for 6 months or maybe even 2 or 3 years out? And so that's going to determine a little bit the strategy of how we spend our time together when you come and visit me and my team. Are you moving here for a job? Are you moving here for the lifestyle? Are you moving here for the weather? Like, that's all important to me. I want to know that stuff. Sometimes it's important to know, like, are you planning on paying cash? Are you going to be using a lender? Have you already been pre-qualified by a lender? Sometimes it's really good to use a local lender. Do you need to sell your current home before you buy this one? Are you okay owning multiple homes? Like, these are all really good questions to discuss on that initial call. And then the last part of that is really setting up an appointment, finding out when you're going to be here, how long you have, how long you want to spend each day with me or one of my teammates. And then that helps me sort of develop a plan or a strategy. Also, on that first Zoom call, I like to learn a little bit more about you, your family, your history. I like hearing about your job. I like hearing about, I work with a ton of retired folks or people that are nearing retirement. That's probably half of my business. And I love to learn about, like, what did you do? How did you get to where you're at? You know, what was your career like? Are you excited about retiring? I like to learn about your hobbies and your interests. A lot of times on that Zoom call, I'll ask people, like, what do you like to do for fun? Because that's going to also determine the neighborhoods and the areas that I want to show you. Or maybe you've just been a workaholic for a long time, and I'll say, okay, well, what do you plan on doing for fun when you move here? Do you want a lot of outdoor activities? Do you want fishing? Do you want golfing? Do you want pickleball? Do you want to be near the beach? Do you want to be somewhere you can walk to shops and dining and restaurants and things like that? What are your dreams? What do you want to do with the rest of your life? Do you plan on going on a lot of cruises? Do you want to learn how to be a chef? Like, I don't know, but these are all things that I like to talk about on that Zoom call. And that's why it's really important, if you're thinking about coming, to go ahead and book that Zoom call with me so that we can get to know each other a little bit more. Now, let's talk about when you actually come to the South Carolina Lowcountry, how are we going to spend our time? And as I mentioned earlier in the video, I personally don't like to go show a bunch of houses on the first day, because you don't know the area, you don't know the neighborhoods, you don't know if you're actually going to like it. And there's nothing worse than, you know, kicking somebody out of their house and having them clean the house and get the dogs out and get the kids out and turn all the lights on, and then you get there and you realize, I don't even like this neighborhood, you know? So in my personal opinion, to view this area properly, you probably need to allocate maybe 3 to 5 days. Now, if you're just coming and let's say you were thinking about moving here in a year or 2 years or 3 years, you really don't need 3 or 4 days with me. We can probably see a lot of it in 1 to 2 days, because at that point we're mostly looking at neighborhoods and areas, maybe viewing a few houses. But if you're coming here to actually purchase a home, then you probably need about 4 or 5 days to do it properly. So I would say on day one, I would take that day to yourself, right? You flew in and you just got to relax and get to know the area. So I would get maybe one of the Airbnbs around Old Town, or if you're looking at Sun City or those areas, get a hotel out in that area, or I made a video about this salty lime house. You could stay there, it's right behind my office. But spend a day like walking around Old Town. Go to the beach in Hilton Head. Maybe take an afternoon and go over to Savannah, but really just kind of soak in the area, soak in the region, soak in the town. Get to know, go out to lunch and talk to people, maybe even go check out some grocery stores. I don't know, but really just absorb the area. On day 2, I would say that should be your first time to meet with me, and that's where we typically go see neighborhoods. And literally, if you're going to see 5 or 6 or 7 neighborhoods, that's a day in and of itself. Even if we don't go see a single house, each neighborhood, like if we're going to see Sun City, it takes me at least an hour and a half just to show all the amenities. I mean, there's over $200 million worth of amenities. There's 8 swimming pools, there's fitness centers, there's fishing docks, there's woodworking shops, there's dog parks, there's all these things that I want to show you. If you're coming and you want to look at Hampton Lake, I mean, there's several amenity centers, there's multiple restaurants, multiple swimming pools, there's, you know, fishing docks. If you're going to Hampton Hall, there's the golf club, there's the fitness area. If you're going to Oldfield, I mean, you've got the golf club, you've got the golf warm-up area, you've got the restaurants, you've got the waterfront area, the outfitter center, you've got the equestrian center. And just to go through the neighborhoods themselves is probably going to take you at least 30 minutes to up to an hour and a half per neighborhood just to take it in. So that's the best way, in my opinion, to spend that first day, is just let me be your quote unquote Uber driver and drive you around and soak it all in and talk about what do you like about each neighborhood, what are the fees in each neighborhood, can you see yourself living here? And then at the end of that day, come back to my office right here where I'm filming this video, and we've got a conference room. And at that point, we take the neighborhoods that you're interested in and we pull up the inventory, we pull up the houses that you're looking for. And we go through, we pull up the pictures on the big screen, we can pull up floor plans, we can look at all these different things, and then we pick out houses together based on what we learned on day 1, what you want to go see the next day. And I really need to do this by like 5 o'clock in the afternoon to make sure that we get these showings approved for the next day, because most of the time the agents on the other end, the listing agents, they're probably going to want us to schedule at least a day in advance to get in there. So let's say, for instance, we pick out 6 to maybe 8 houses to go see that next day. And then we go through there, and I always tell people, make a list of pros and cons of each house, or a lot of times I'll tell people, rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. You know, that way you kind of keep an idea of what are your favorites. What did you like? What did you not like? This one had too small of a backyard. This one had a better view. This one had a nicer kitchen. This one didn't have enough storage. This one didn't have a pantry, whatever it is. So I think personally on that day, we go through and we spend 15 minutes to 30 minutes per house and go through there. And there's some drive time too. I mean, if we're looking at neighborhoods in Hilton Head and Bluffton, or even from one side of Bluffton to another, we might have 15, 20 minutes of driving in between each neighborhood. So that kind of helps us narrow down. Then we come back to the office that day and we go back to my conference room and I say, okay, what were your favorite houses? And honestly, a lot of times people say, you know what, my head is spinning right now. I can't even imagine. They'll say, David, we need to go to dinner and we need to have a beverage and we need to talk about this. And now this is, of course, in the scenario that you're actually here to buy and not necessarily looking 2 years out. But if you're here to buy, a lot of times people will go to dinner, they'll pull out their notepads, they'll talk about their favorites, they'll talk about the pros and the cons and, you know, scale of 1 to 10 and what do I love, what do I not love, what do I have to have? And then I say, just text me, you know, by like 7 or 8 o'clock, let me know which houses you want to go back to. And so we go back a following day and we look at the houses that were their favorites. And we start to zero in. It's a process of elimination. And then sometimes on that day, people are able to make a decision based on which houses they like the best, and they're able to go ahead and pick a house on that particular day. But a lot of times it comes down to the top 2. And so maybe we need to go back another day to go back and look at those top 2 and really compare and contrast them and see which one speaks to you. And then also sometimes we need to do some market analysis on each of those top 2 houses and determine, like, okay, based on the information, which one is more likely to accept our offer. You know, like if we have a house to sell contingency or, you know, certain extenuating circumstances, which one's been on the market longer? You know, what is the value of this? Sometimes I'll run a CMA on both houses and say, okay, that's a comparative market analysis, and say, okay, are they priced right? You know, how long have they owned it? How much did they pay for it? Look at all the property disclosure statements, find out how old is the roof, how old is the air conditioner, how old is the water heater, all these things. And then based on that, we can go back, and on that final day, we can sit in my conference room and we can work through an offer, and we can work through the contract. And again, I can put the contract up on the big screen TV. We can go through and talk about, okay, how much do you want to put as earnest money? When do you want your closing date to be? How long do we need for our due diligence period? You know, a lot of times I'll call the other agent and I'll ask them, you know, is there anything that's super important to your sellers that they're going to want to see in this contract? Is closing date important to them? Is there any other extenuating things that need to be considered in this offer? So again, that we can get more granular when you get here. But I just wanted to give you an idea for, in my opinion, the best way to come and view here. So a lot of times, if you haven't been here and you haven't spent a lot of time, it's not always so great to just give me a list of houses and say, I want to go see these. It's really a step-by-step process. So take in the entire region, take in the town, take in the atmosphere, then go and explore the neighborhoods and take in the neighborhoods, and then go pick out houses, and then go back to your favorite houses, and then go back to your very, very favorite houses, and then really go forensic on your one or two favorite houses to figure out exactly what you need to do to successfully purchase those homes, and then write up a contract that will be a winning contract. So anyway, I hope that video was helpful, and I hope it helps you to, you know, plan your trip here with me. Again, if you're coming to just kind of take it in on a high level, 1 or 2 days should be fine. But if you're coming to potentially find the perfect house, you probably should plan to spend 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 days with me. Thank you so much for staying till the end of the video. I hope you found that informative or helpful in some way. Of course, if I can help you find your own Lowcountry lifestyle, just go to lowcountrylifestylesteam.com, fill out that form so we can book a Zoom call. And I hope to meet you at some point in person, but if not, I hope to at least see you on the next video.